Thank you, and welcome to Spotlight on Excellence, the show dedicated to providing entrepreneurs the essential business tools required to reach the ultimate level of success. I'm your host, Michael McDonough, and as an entrepreneur myself, I've faced the same challenges that you face, and I found that one of the best ways to achieve success is to model success. So we created Spotlight on Excellence to deliver experts in key business segments directly to you, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just have to make it your own. And today we're focusing on creating successful brands with our special guest and brand strategist of number 113 Branding, and of course executive producer of Spotlight on Excellence, Joie Gharrity. Welcome to Spotlight on Excellence, Joie.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me.
I should say welcome to this side of the camera because you're always here. You're no stranger to the set, but
No.
of course you're normally on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
And we're so lucky to have you out here now.
I appreciate you inviting me. Yes,
Well,
it's
good.
great to sit in the director's chair.
Yeah,
Love
it
'em.
is. It's great to have you on this side. Of course, we're great friends.
Yes,
And I know a little bit about your background, of course. You
Yeah.
started down in Hollywood.
I did.
And this led you to be executive director here, but in
Right.
between you started number 113 Branding.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how that led you to found number 113 Branding.
Sure. So I have over 15 years experience in the Hollywood entertainment business. And so I took the techniques and tools, the creative brand strategies and creative strategies from down in Hollywood. And then I've created a 5-star brand strategy system that incorporates these tools, and then I customize them for entrepreneurs in professional fields to become bigger superstars.
Well, we've talked about the fact that you really love Paris.
Yes.
And that has something to do with how you named number 113, right?
Yeah. I actually did an honor of Coco Chanel. When Marilyn Monroe was asked what she wears to bed, she said, "I only wear one thing, and it's Chanel number 5."
Gotta love that.
I know, and I love Chanel. I'm a huge fan of Coco, and I think she's one of the greatest women entrepreneurs of all time. And so I named it number 1 + 1 + 1, 1 + 1 + 3 is 5. So
Okay.
number 5.
So it's kind of like Chanel number 5,
It
but it's
is.
number 113.
Yeah, exactly. Branding, I wanted to make my company title interesting, dynamic, and you always want to make people stop and think. It's a way to have people stop and ask the question, which opens up conversation.
Well, that
Which
name
is great for
does
your
it.
brand.
I remember the first time we met, I said, how did you
Right.
name it 113? Because, well, 13 is a funny number as it is.
Yeah.
But everybody I've known that meets you ask you the same question.
Yeah, it's a great way to open up, to start emotionally connecting with people by sharing your stories.
Excellent. Well, let's get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
As you know, from the other shows we've done, I
Sure.
ask every client, not every client, I ask every guest. I have clients and I have guests. I ask every guest something to get to know them a little bit better, and that is, what do you have on your iTunes playlist?
Okay, this is kind of crazy because this is something that probably no one would know about me, not even my best friends, but I am a huge Bon Jovi fan.
Bon Jovi. Love that.
That's my dirty little secret. I listen to Bon Jovi every morning when I get ready. And then, of course, I have a ton of meditation on there because I'm a big fan of meditation.
I know that.
Uh-huh.
You're trying to get me to meditate
Yes, I want Michael to meditate, everyone.
more. Well, you've recently been speaking to groups all over the state, really, about creating a successful sales strategy.
Yeah.
Or sales presentation, really. You call a pitch, I call a
Yeah.
presentation.
Right.
Define branding and how creating a branding strategy is important to today's marketplace.
Sure, so we do call it pitching down in Hollywood, so I just cross that over into my brand. It's a way to get visibility, and visibility, impact, and influence is a way that you make sales. See, I don't believe in the old sales models anymore. I don't believe in the cold calls or knocking on doors, especially with the internet now, with the social media business channels. I believe that it's through visibility is that how you get sales, when people can see you. And by giving the right presentation or pitch, for instance, it gives the people a way to emotionally connect with you and get to know you right away, to start trusting you, and therefore it can turn into sales.
Well, you've developed 5 steps to create a successful sales pitch.
Mm-hmm.
How does that relate to creating your brand, and how can our entrepreneurs benefit from that?
So when I first moved back up here, what I realized, I was going to a bunch of networking, what I started realizing is that people were leaving a big part of their past behind. In other words, they were only focusing on what they were doing currently. And down in Hollywood, we're taught very, very young, as soon as you get there, that you should be proud of what you did last. As a matter of fact, what you did last is as important as what you're about to do. And so by leveraging your past, it tells people who you are, where you're coming from, etc. And so I do the same thing in my 5 steps to creating a successful pitch.
Well, the number one step that you talk about is choosing your title.
Yeah.
Why is that so important?
Yeah, because you're setting a tone with people, and I also tell people that not to downplay who they are. So I was getting a little bit of pushback at the beginning, but no longer. I think there's a lot of love around it now. That people were like, well, I don't want to brag. I said, telling people who you are is not bragging, guys. It is letting people know this is what I do for a living, and I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of it.
Well, let's go to the clip
Sure.
and see a little bit of your presentation, and I think all this will really come into play.
Great.
I believe we're all literally walking personal and professional brands. The minute you wake up and you walk out that door, you're a brand. So I came up with a unique system called 5 steps to creating a professional and what I call entertaining and dynamic sales marketing pitch, okay? Step 1, it's all about your professional title. And what I want to say to that is this, is that the Bay Area, and I think across the world, is inundated with the word coach and consultant. That does not tell me anything. I need you to be incredibly, incredibly detailed around that. It will give you leverage with people. They'll know how to relate to you, and if they need you, your services, or if they know someone that needs your services right away. And I want to share something that was happening with you guys last year for me. I was calling myself a brand consultant, and then people were seeing my resume with all this like ESPN and Toyota and stuff. And so what people were starting to do, these very high-level boutiques that had more than 1 or 2 storefronts, they were coming to me and hiring me, and they were treating me like I was an ad agency. All of a sudden, I was like doing key branding, and I was doing logos, and I was doing billboard campaigns, and it was crazy. So when I reframed to brand strategist, what happened? People quit making me an ad agency anymore. That all just disappeared, and I was a much happier person. And I was drumming a drum and pulling in the kind of clientele that I love working with. So when you guys are thinking about your particular title, I want you guys to also be thinking about strategy around it. If you know out there that there is already like dozens and dozens and dozens of people with your exact title, and that it's not differentiating you for what you truly are doing for people, then I want you guys to consider about changing the title. So step 2, I always lead with my expertise, because it's a way where I'm telling people, you trust me. You know, I have over 15 years in the Hollywood entertainment business, right? I worked for the Walt Disney Company, guys. Like, that's a really big deal. Why not lead with your expertise? It's telling that customer or potential alliance partner that you are on the up and up. Now, if what you're doing today is not matching up with what you did 10 years ago or 15 years ago or for 25 years, it's okay. So one day I walked into one of my favorite restaurants and I sat down at the bar area, and a man next to me asked me what I did. It's the #1 question you'll get asked in your lifetime. And I told him, I said, well, listen, I was handpicked by the president of the studio of the Walt Disney Company to start a startup, the first startup of all time for the Walt Disney Company, and I was doing web series for them. And I was pitching Toyota, iTunes, ESPN, you know, Disney Family, etc. And we were basically doing web series for them. And I said, and I'm really proud of that. And I said, right now I'm just trying to figure out my next step. And he says to me, well, that's crazy, because I'm actually producing a web series up here in the Bay Area right now. And he's like, and it's all about branding. And he's like, so would you be interested in coming on board and me hiring you as one of the producers? And I was like, yes, sir. The reason I share that particular story with you is because if I had walked in there and been humbled, okay, I hear this a lot up in the Bay Area, to be humbled. If I had walked in there and he said to me, what do you do for a living? And I was to respond, well, nothing right now, and I'm kind of stressed out about it, and I'm not really sure what I should do next. What do you think would have happened with this conversation? Dun, dun, dun. Do you think he would want to keep talking to me? Probably not. He'd probably be like, whew, this girl needs a drink, and she is stressed, right? Instead, he heard web series, Disney, the Walt Disney Company, ESPN, which, by the way, he's like a freak about sports. So ESPN, he heard all these key words for himself, and he immediately hooked in, and it literally launched my career up here in the Bay Area. I've only been doing number 113 branding for 2 years, but the way that I leverage that is I'm like, yeah, but I've got 15 years over here. And those 15 years are showing up big time in these last 2 years. And I'm utilizing what I learned for those 15 years. And I bet you every single person in this room is doing the same, which is going to bring the drum louder and louder and louder and bring you more business, okay? Give you more influence and more impact. So the step 3 is I start talking about real tangibles. I'm like, I deliver a 3-step process that I developed from my Hollywood days, and it's 25 to 30 pages long, and it's incredibly detailed, and it has the big picture, and it's full of brand strategies that I would like to see you do next. Now that has value, right? Because it takes me days and hours to create that, customize that for someone. Now I brought some tangibility to the conversation, not just I'm going to make you a superstar, which I could say that all day and a night, but there's no integrity behind that, right? So when you guys are saying your actual step 3 results, please put some tangibility behind it and tell people. I had a gentleman yesterday tell me that he gives people a free form that he delivers that's customized for them that takes him 4.5 hours to create for free. And he wasn't telling anyone. He was literally showing up to a meeting and just giving it to them. And I said, there's no value behind that, because they have to understand if you're $500 an hour, 500 times 4 has saved them how much money? And by leveraging that, now they're going to trust and emotionally connect with you because they're like, this guy's on my side, because he is. And he deserves to be recognized for that, okay? And I'm sure everyone in here deserves to be recognized for more and more and more. And I hope that you guys will show up, especially in this particular step, in a bigger way.
Okay, we're back. That was awesome. And one of the branding concepts you've talked about on that was communicating tangible expectations.
Yeah.
Explain what you mean by tangible expectations.
Sure. So I just mean that just telling people that you're good at something isn't good enough. Instead, let them know what your deliverables are going to be. Your tangibles. Okay. So for instance, for me, I let people know that I have a 5-star brand strategy, customized system, and that what I'm going to deliver to them is between 25 and 30 pages. And it's a very detailed document so that they can start understanding that there's a lot of weight behind the value of what I'm offering. And that's a real tangible.
Excellent. Well, I remember you talking about being 3-dimensional in your approach to branding. In fact, you were talking about that earlier today about me. How does that relate to building your brand?
I'm watching Michael's brand all the time, guys. The way that it works is like this. I was a complete workaholic for most of my adult life down in Hollywood. And what I realized when I moved back to the Bay Area is that's kind of boring. Just talking about business 24 hours a day, people can't emotionally connect with you or see if you're like-minded. And when I really started to do more self-development work, I started realizing that I had a lot of different interests. And so I talk about all those interests. And one particular interest, which you already touched on earlier, was Paris, for instance. Mm-hmm. And so I literally will have friends or colleagues or clients for my birthday or for holidays, they'll give me Paris-themed presents. And so it's a way where people can like-mind. Also, too, like we mentioned earlier, I'm really into meditation. And so I've created a lot of different community around meditation. It's a way of being 3-dimensional and still people being able to emotionally connect with you and trust you, but also know that you're human and that you're not business 24/7, because it gets really boring.
I'm almost business 24/7, so that's what she says. I need to do a little bit more about my dog, she said, or something like that.
Well, recently you posted a picture of a hike you went on.
That's right.
And I immediately was like, share. This is so interesting because you gave us a way into, wow, Michael's three-dimensional, and he's showing us where he is right now.
Did you like those short shorts?
I didn't see those.
Oh, I'll show you that later. Well, we've also talked about using leverage in our marketing. Discuss why leverage is important to building a brand.
Sure. So again, it goes back to the aspect of be proud for what you did in the past. For instance, if you were a nurse, if you're a coach today, let's just say you're a life coach today, but you were a nurse for over 30 years and you leave out that you've been a nurse for over 30 years, and then someone asks you how long you've been in business and you said, oh, I've been in business for 2 years, what happens in the room? Dun, 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 right? People's energy goes down with you because there becomes less of a trust factor. Oh, I want to work with someone that's been coaching for a long time. But if you leverage, I was in the health field. I was a nurse for one of the major medical centers here in the Bay Area for over 30 years. That's going to give you leverage with that person. And it starts supporting what you're doing today. See, I believe that every single step we've made has gotten us to where we are today, even sitting on the stage.
I totally agree with that. I live that theory.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the clip, and we're going to see some more about leveraging probably, and we'll really get into the steps of creating a successful sales pitch.
Great.
So step 4 is I want you guys to take all step 1 and 3 and I want you guys to combine them. But this is what I want to convey to you guys is pitching is know thy audience. So if I'm at a dinner party and I know I'm going to be, they usually seat you at these dinner parties, right? And I know that the person on the right and the person on the left is going to ask me, what do I do? It's the number one question, right? Because everyone wants to get the feel for you. And I know that dinner party is going to be 2 or 3 hours. I'm not going to pitch them because I have 2 or 3 hours to talk about my business. I have 2 or 3 hours to be three-dimensional. Okay, when you're always hammering the sales pitch, what happens to people out there? How do they start just seeing you? Because I know how I saw myself 15 years in the business. I was business 24/7. I literally, and I'm not kidding you, I dreamt in acts, act 1, act 2, and act 3. Because I read so many scripts 24 hours a day. And I would if I woke up in act 2, the next night I would start back in the act and go into act 3 again. Not kidding you. Because I was so like this. This is just Joey. I was just like, I was that girl. I was business 24 hours a day. And that's not three-dimensional. And that's not going to win the fame game. Who I am today is I'm three-dimensional. So I want to talk about other things that I'm interested in, I'm passionate in, because I'm looking for like-minded people like myself. I want people to trust me and know, yeah, I am fantastic at business. I'll be the first to admit it. But I'm also really into travel, and I love meditation, and I love to, I love wine. I love, Sonoma. Anyone want to go up there? I'm into it. Right. But I want people to see that. And so if it's a networking situation, of course, like people expect you to do the pitch, so go for it, but make it organic. Also bring in other three-dimensional parts of you. It makes you more relatable and interesting and memorable. If I'm at something that's going to take me a while and I know I'm going to have all night, I am not going to talk about what I'm doing, but I am going to talk about the movie I've seen recently, because those people are going to remember me more for the actual deeper conversations we had than what I do for a living. And then they're going to be like, I want to know Joie more, especially when I mention Chanel in Paris. So these are two, but what I do with my business channels, guys, is I take all of this three-dimensional and everything gets laid out across my business channels strategically, because I'm showing people different parts of me and then I throw in some business. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, and then finally, step 5, guys, is practice. I will literally, before a keynote or before I have a big pitch, especially when I was down there, I would be the brunette in the dark corner and I would be imagining myself going through the pitch and everyone's reaction, and hopefully they were applauding and not throwing tomatoes at me. You know, I would do this and I would do it over and over and over again. There's something very magical about it. It gets your confidence level ready. You get one shot a lot of times, right? And how many shots do we get with a potential client? How many? One. You get one shot. So when I go in there, not only am I prepared, not only have I been working through that meeting in my head, and it doesn't matter if they want to take a right or left turn because I can take the turns with them, I don't care about that. But I also go in with a real self-confidence in regards to remembering where I come from and leveraging that with me, because I didn't get there for no reason. I'm in that room for a purpose and to be of service. If you start really noticing the type of marketing material that we do, you'll see created by the people who brought you, dun, dun, dun. We do it a lot. And even if the movie where we worked on was 16 years before, we'll still use it in the current marketing material because we're telling people, well, if you liked Stargate, or if you liked Independence Day, then we know you're going to like this because we created those. Okay? We're always putting our expertise from the past in front and in the current. So when you guys are thinking about your marketing material, not that we're not going to start wrapping buses, or we might. I don't know if I'm going to have a billboard anytime soon, but I might, right? But you want to be thinking about taking that expertise and enhancing it in your current marketing material because it will leverage you, all right? I'd like to see you pull all that into your current branding because being unique is the name of the game, and that's how you're going to get more fame. Talking about your past and what you did and bringing it all in, it makes you more complete. It gives us a better picture of who you are. So I want you guys to be very strategic, and I want you to lead with your strength, because it's a way where people are emotionally connecting with you and they're hooking into you and they're understanding you. This is an excellent point, guys. I will meet people that will tell me that they are an actress, they're a psychologist, and they're an accountant. I'm like, I don't know what film you're in, but that is a no. I'm running. I'm going this way, Sybil. Okay, I'm out of here. Okay. This is a problem, okay? You want to make sense of your brand.
Okay, we're back. Now that really digs deep into this idea of building a successful sales pitch. But I want to talk about another thing that we see you on all the time, and that's social media. You mentioned that you're a social media influencer. Yeah. And I've heard you say that before quite a few times, as a matter of fact. How should entrepreneurs integrate social media into their brand strategy?
Right, so I think it's absolutely the 100% the most important aspect of business today. I believe that the social media channels are actually turning into business channels, and they're free. But it's a way where people can see you three-dimensional and get to know you better so that they can trust you and emotionally connect with you. But it's about visibility.
Right.
So just like Michael was visible the other day, was showing us that he was on his hike with his dog, his very cute dog, by the way. On his hike, people got to know you better. It was a visibility aspect. When we were talking about the show, we actually talk about Spotlight on Excellence across all of our business channels for more visibility, and we talk about the keynote speaker so that we can start people getting ready to know who they are, right? And so by using your social media business channels, it's such a great way to make an impact, be more influential, and get more visibility. And again, it's free.
Well, I love the way you call it business channels. A lot of people say, what do you mean by business channels? Mm-hmm. They think of it as social media channels, mm-hmm. but you use the term business channel every time.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting aspect to the way you see social media.
Yeah, because I believe as a brand that we're all walking brands, and then we're just an extension of what we do. My personal and my business life are not separate. They're all actually one. They couldn't be separate because it's just an extension of who I am. Yeah, of course I have a private life, and I don't think everyone should throw up their private life up there. I want everyone to be very comfortable about what they're doing across the business channels. But there's a lot of leverage that you can gain, but more importantly, you can throw out huge nets.
Okay, well, let's get a little three-dimensional. I want to show this picture of you and I at Trader Vic's.
Okay.
Because one of the first times we got together, we had a business meeting about this show
Yeah.
at Trader Vic's, and what better place to talk about show business than Trader Vic's?
You're right.
So the last thing, or one of the last things I'll ask you is,
Sure.
who's had the most influence on your career and made you successful?
I would say my grandmother. She was an entrepreneur since as long as I could remember. I was very young and I was watching her, and I remember I always wanted to be just like her when I grew up. She always had multiple companies going on at the same time. She was a very strong woman. And then also I'd like to say my mom. My mom has been incredibly supportive with me since day one. You know, a lot of parents would not necessarily have loved the idea of me going to Hollywood, and not that Hollywood's not glamorous and stuff, but also too, there's a little bit of a vibe about Hollywood in the Bay Area versus down in LA.
Right.
And so, but my parents have always been 110% behind me.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very blessed.
I'd have to say my dad had a huge
Yeah.
influence on me as well.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
We're
That
very
family,
blessed.
family can really mean a lot. Well, thanks a lot for being on the show today.
Thank
on
you.
this side of the show
Thank
today.
you. It was great.
And I have one last question, as I ask every guest at the end of the show, and that is, what is the biggest piece of advice that a mentor has given you that you would like to share with our viewers that could help them be successful?
Sure. Don't be a lone wolf. Find community right away. Get your support groups up and running. Being an entrepreneur is the most exciting, dynamic thing I've ever done in my career, in my life, really. But it's also been one of the hardest things I've ever done. And because of my support and because of community, I'm really able to, those days when things are a little tougher than others, I'm able to lean on them for that type of support, and I would highly suggest to do the same. Being a lone wolf isn't going to get you very far.
Well, that's great advice. And thanks again for being on the show today, Joie. You are a true model of success. For all of you out there watching, be sure to visit www.envisiontv.com to learn more about Joie Gharrity. That's www.envisiontv.com. You'll find a special offer there from Joie that'll help your business work as hard for you as you do for it. And remember, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just have to make it your own. And we'll see you next time on Spotlight on Excellence.